Well, welcome to the Botanical Medicine study course with me, your host and instructor, Stephanie Georgia. We are nearing 2 years that this channel has been in existence and online. And for my long-term subscribers, you know I try to follow certain themes when choosing medicinal plant. As I grew up in California, March was always focused on all sorts of plants and gardens, most notably on Arbor Day or Arbor Month. I had always remembered this as a time to honor trees. And when I looked it up, lo and behold, it seems that the national meaning of American Arbor Day is actually in April. But apparently, the Arbor Day people are not fussy about specific dates. In fact, if you go to the link in the program notes, Arbor Day happens all over the calendar, depending on when is a good time to plant trees. There are Arbor Days, Arbor Months, Arbor Weeks, and so on. Arbor Day is all about planting trees. And I can tell you, as a SoCal girl, March is really a wonderful time to plant anything, specifically trees, as it is often the wettest time of the year and the best time to plant things in general. Even though our actual natural growing season, particularly in Southern California, is from October through April, which is usually when we have rains. So, anyways, in the spirit of California Arbor Week, for the next few episodes of Herb of the Week, we will be exploring trees that are used for their healing properties. So, for this week's Herb of the Week, we will be focusing on a very ubiquitous tree in California that is not native, but you wouldn't know it through casual observation. And this tree is also the favorite food of the koala bear, and it's the eucalyptus tree, which is native to Australia. Now, as I said before, eucalyptus is native to Australia and Tasmania, along with some of the surrounding islands in the region. In 1770, eucalyptus specimens made their way to Europe for the first time. On his first Pacific Ocean trip, Captain James Cook explored part of the Australian coast. Botanists who were on board cataloged and collected several different species along the way, taking them back to London. And obviously, in the species was the eucalyptus tree. And European botanists gave the tree the name eucalyptus because of how the flowers are in hard, protective cup-like structures. And for these wonderful botanists who were conversant in Greek, the Greek root eu means well, and kalyptos means covered. So there you go. Well covered seeds. So I'm sure that made these botanists really excited. Now, the California gold rush of the late 1840s and early 1850s created a high demand for wood for constructing buildings and for fuel. At this point, deforestation had become a serious concern, so much so that the California Tree Culture Act of 1868 was created to encourage people to plant more trees, particularly along roads. Many entrepreneurs who seem to gravitate to California rushed to capitalize on this wonderful government policy. Eucalyptus trees were brought to California by the Australians during this time, and the trees were originally planted as ornamentals, but were later used for things such as timber, windbreaks, and to improve farmland. It was thought that they could shield crops from wind. But now it's not so much that attitude because these trees are very thirsty. and for the water scarce Southern California in general. And in some places, they're actually considered an invasive species. Personally, growing up in this area, I always loved the scent that these trees put off, especially after rains. It's really lovely. So, starting in the 1870s, the first large-scale commercial planting of the most popular of all the eucalypti as a Eucalyptus globulus, and that's when it began. Now, Eucalyptus is a genus of more than 700 species of flowering plants in the family Myrtaceae, more commonly known as the myrtle family. Now, the Myrtaceae are dicotyledonous plants placed in the order of Myrtales. And other trees that are in this lovely family are bay rum tree, clove, guava, and allspice tea tree, which is also known as melaleuca, and obviously eucalyptus. And I think it's interesting. You can have your choice between plural eucalypti or eucalyptuses, depending on how elitist you want to sound while making plurals. But all of these trees are members of this group. And they're all woody. They contain lots of essential oils, which is why these trees are often prized for their medicinal actions. And the flowers are always recognized because they're in multiples of 4 or 5. Most species of eucalyptus are trees. A few are shrubs and bushes. Most Australian forests actually are eucalyptus forests, the natural forests. And a lot of these species have adapted to wildfire and are able to resprout after fire, or they have seeds that survive fire. Now, all eucalyptus trees are evergreen, and the green is not a lush, deep green, but kind of a silvery light green. Um, and some tropical species lose their leaves at the end of the dry season. Now, Aboriginal Australians used eucalyptus leaf infusions, which is basically the fancy word for tea, as traditional medicine for treating body pains, sinus congestion, fever, and colds. Now, the main properties are antimicrobial, pretty much on anything you can imagine that's a little bug. So, virus, fungal, bacteria. It also has antiseptic properties. It's a stimulant. It's also wonderful as insect repellent, and it works on decongesting your stuffy nose. Now, many medicines over the counter treat coughs and colds actually do contain eucalyptus. It's found in things like cough drops, cough syrups, vapor rubs, baths, different things like that throughout the United States and Europe. Now, usually herbalists recommend using fresh leaves to make teas, and you can make this to make like a tea gargle for a sore throat, or put it in a bowl of hot water, put your face over it, put a towel to make a little tent. It's a wonderful facial steam. Eucalyptus ointments are also used on the nose and chest to relieve congestion, and eucalyptus oil, which is, in my opinion, one of the most popular ways to use eucalyptus. This can help to loosen phlegm. You can also put eucalyptus in your air diffuser or a steamer, which will help treat many types of lung problems. Now, the chemicals, which are often noted most in concentration, obviously in essential oil, it's rich in something called cineol, which is also known as eucalyptol. And this is an antiseptic that kills bacteria and They can also kill the bacteria that causes bad breath. So some of your antiseptic mouthwashes also use a eucalyptus oil along with other essential oils. And these have been shown because they kill the bacteria, help to prevent plaque, that, stuff that your dental hygienist scrapes off of your teeth if you're not flossing regularly. And it also helps to prevent gingivitis. Now, today, in time of this recording, the oil from the eucalyptus tree, which is Eucalyptus globulus, more likely than not, appears in all sorts of over-the-counter products, um, over-the-counter cough and cold medicines, also used in creams and ointments to relieve muscle and joint pain. And as I said, it's also used in mouthwashes. So you can, if you have a eucalyptus tree, you can make some eucalyptus tea and take the leaves out and gargle. Be really spiffy. Now, there are all kinds of eucalypti, all kinds. And we're going to look at the four most commonly used ones specifically in um, in aromatherapy. And this Eucalyptus globulus is also known as blue gum, and it's one of the most common eucalyptus essential oils used in both the United States, Canada, and Western Europe. Um, it's a tall evergreen tree with blue-green oval leaves, which, when they're young, um, they're narrow, and when they're older, they turn fatter and they turn yellow. Now, the essential oil from this is really good for coughs, colds, asthma, aches, and pains. It's also really good as an insect repellent. This is the number one eucalyptus oil export from China. Um, and it's very high in cineol, that eucalyptol thing we were talking about. And it also has some monoterpene in it. And it really should not be used with babies and young children any way, shape, or form. Not in a bath, not in a diffuser, and certainly not on the skin because it's pretty strong. Now, the next one is called Eucalyptus. I pronounce this Dives. That may not be correct, but that's how I say it. And this one is really good for mental clarity and motivation. And this is a medium-sized tree. It's got heart-shaped leaves when they're young. And the essential oil from this tree is from the leaves and twigs, whereas most other eucalypti is from the leaves. And it's also called peppermint eucalyptus. And as you can see, because of that peppermint type of scent, it's really good for waking people up. It's for mental clarity, motivation, and you get all the other ones, coughs, colds, joint pain. It's also really good for nervous exhaustion. And it's very strong. It's got some ketones in it, um, and some monoterpenes, which is why it's a different. That's why it has those peppermint scents to it, and it's so stimulating to the nervous system, makes you wake up. And it's really good for nervous um, exhaustion because it's very nice and stimulating. So this might be a wonderful thing to put in a diffuser if you've been going through a lot of stress, which I think everybody's been doing lately. So this definitely will help with that. Now, another one that's very common, and I particularly really like this one, it's called Eucalyptus citerodora, or it's also called lemon eucalyptus, which is a big hint in terms of what it smells like. And one of the big reasons is that it's high in an aldehyde, which you can see the chemical construction there, the chemical diagram. And aldehydes are very relaxing and they're very fresh, high notes. And that is what is different about this one versus others. So if you want to use the Davies, you can wake up, and this is one to relax yourself. It's considered a relaxing nervine. It's also relaxing to the your respiratory system. And so people who are really having trouble breathing, specifically asthmatics, this will just help relax all of that so that you can breathe more easily. Um, as you can imagine, it's lemon scented. It's also really good for insect repellents. And, citronella is very famous, and this is a nice second. So you can mix them together or just use it by itself. It's used a lot in the perfume industry, and it's just got all those wonderful properties like most eucalyptus is, but it also is cooling and calming and relaxing to the nervous system. And now the last one of the popular, there are lists of different types of eucalyptuses, but most, I would say, high-end aromatherapy essential oil companies will have these four for sale. I haven't seen a whole lot of other types of eucalyptuses, but obviously you can make an essential oil out of anything that has essential oils in it. Now, radiata, um, it only comes from the leaves, and it's a sweeter aroma and less likely to irritate than Eucalyptus globulus. It has oxides along with the monoterpenes, such as limonene. And this has a very high cineol content. And so this is probably the most powerful of all the eucalyptuses for dealing with respiratory issues, soothing inflammation, and also very strong anti any type of bug, viral, bacterial, fungal. Um, it also helps to strengthen the immune system. Um, it's very uplifting and mentally clearing. It's a good oil. So what you need to know is all of these, you should never put straight eucalyptus oil on your skin, especially with children. If you want to put it on your skin, make sure you dilute it. You can put, about a teaspoonful of oil and 1 drop of the essential oil, eucalyptus oil, stir that up, and then you can rub it however you want to. You can put 1 drop in a teaspoonful of honey and add that to several cups of hot water, and that will give you a very mild tea. Or you can, as I said, put some leaves in some hot water and make some tea. You'll be just fine. So here are those cautions. Do not use this internally, especially with young children. Most of the products you buy that have eucalyptus in them is very, very dilute. Do not use this directly on infants or toddlers. If you're going to use some sort of eucalyptus, make sure you do a patch test, like on in your forearm, to make sure you don't have any adverse reactions. I also want to say, uh, caution in using this in a bath, especially lots of it. It can burn sensitive tissues and you're tingling for hours afterwards. It's really good, like in foot baths, facial steams, but like a full immersion bath, you just need to be careful with this. Now, growing eucalyptuses, there's so many different kinds you can grow. Lots of availabilities in local nurseries. It's quite beautiful, I think. And as I said, the leaves smell so wonderful after rain. It works, depending on the variety, it can work in a container, in a pot. You can get the shrub types to grow them in the garden. If you want to grow a tree, choose wisely because it will grow quite tall. And as always, I have links in the program notes on all kinds of information on how to grow eucalyptuses. So, this is Stephanie Georgia saying thank you so much for spending your valuable time with me. Make sure to check out the links in the program notes. Um, Also, every Friday, for those of you who would like to learn more about botanical medicine, there is a new lesson posted every Friday for you to purchase if you are so moved. And I hope when you start exploring this incredible plant, that you are as excited about it as I am, and you really come to appreciate what a gift Australia has given to the world in terms of plant. So, until next time, be well.